Okay, good evening, everyone. It is just after 6:30 on Tuesday, January 28th. I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Committee on Ordinance. The members present are, I'm the chair, Rebecca Lisi. To my left, we have Ward 6 City Councilor Juan Anderson Burgos. Following him, we have Councilor Terry Murphy representing Ward 2. Joining us now is Libby Hernandez representing Ward 4. We're also joining the chambers by Ward 3 City Councilor David Bartley and at-large City Councilor Joe McGivern. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to take up item number 1 on the agenda, which is to approve the previous meeting minutes.
Make the motion.
So moved.
I don't know if we have these.
Yeah, I didn't think we did, so.
Yeah, Ryan, I think, has been dealing with some family health issues,
yeah.
so
I'll make a motion, we table that.
thank you. Motion has been made to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
So moved. Okay, Bob, why don't we have you come in? Unless, Councilor Bartley, are you here for that one item, or do you want to stay for more of the meeting?
I'd like to get rid of that one item anyhow. Get rid of whatever else, and then we'll see what else is.
So I'm just
Item
wondering if I
13.
can bring Bob in for his orders, or if you are just here for that one item that you have. Just in terms of making it easy for, I'm just trying to figure out if I could help either you or Bob get in and out more
Oh,
quickly.
no, have Mr. Parent go first.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry about me.
And Mr. Parent, we do appreciate the work that you put into creating notes in advance of these meetings. We'll just go through.
I'll make a motion, we take up item 2, which I know he's here to table, but if you could just give us a quick synopsis of where we're at there.
I'll second that.
A motion has been made and second to take up item number 2 under discussion. Mr. Parent.
Certainly, in the interest of trying to keep everything fairly short tonight, we continue to refine the design for the streetscape improvements in the South Holyoke area that's being funded through a MassWorks grant. We did sit down with the fire department last week. They gave us some additional comments. We're working to incorporate their comments in the design. And what I want to be certain of is that when we put something in front of you for action, that we have everybody on board and is behind it. And we're not quite there yet.
And if I can, I've had the comments for the fire department as well, making sure that everybody gets together. They have some concerns about being able, especially their new vehicles, I think, to be able to easily get through in case there's a fire and an emergency. So, and there's a few other places they brought up, but this is one, obviously, that's in the planning stages. So there'll be a few others I think they're coming in for.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that we're getting different departments to communicate with one another in advance to circumvent any issues that may come up. So then on the motion to table,
I make a motion, we table item number 2 until we hear back from
I'll
Bob.
second that.
motion has been made and seconded to table item number 2. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. And then the next item in the agenda that Bob created for what the engineering department needs to deal with would be item number 17. I'll entertain a motion to take up item number 17 off the
So
table. Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to take up item number 17. All in favor?
Aye.
This is filed by Councilor Murphy and McGee, that the City Council meet with the Department of Public Works Superintendent to discuss the possibility of providing refuse disposal permits free of charge to renters, just as it is to residential homeowners. Also, the policy deactivating a permit card when a landlord has failed to pay the sewer use charge should be discussed. And then Mr. Parent, under discussion.
So on that item, I have discussed it with Mike McManus, superintendent, and Mike is generally much more involved, as you probably know, in the solid waste issues in the city. And he is working on looking at options. He understands what the order is about and expects to be able to discuss it at the next meeting.
Great.
I think we jumped actually over item number 16.
We'll come right back to it.
You're right, I'm sorry about that.
If I can just comment on 17.
Yes, Councilor Murphy.
First of all, thank you, Bob, and I appreciate the fact that we're looking at it. Again, it's, to me, it's an issue of trying to make sure that everybody has a chance to use the a card to go get rid of things that they can't do in a regular trash recycling program. And I think if we do it and we do it well, we'll end up with a cleaner city. Because, you know, when people can't dispose of something, I've heard of people in several areas telling me where people couldn't figure out where to get rid of things because they didn't have a card, and therefore just kind of did things that you don't want them doing. So my hope is that two things will happen. The city will be cleaner, and it also will be more equitable in terms of renters being able to get similar rights to homeowners. And I know homeowners pay taxes, but renters pay rent, and obviously quality of life is the major issue here. And I think we can improve the quality of life.
Thank you. Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I just through the chair to Councilor Murphy. There's no doubt that, you know, litter does nothing but belittle us. We all know that. But and while I would certainly be supportive of this, I think that the councilor has to consider conferring with the mayor to make sure that we not only have the person power down at the city barn, and as well as the capacity to handle more waste material. In other words, to make sure that the hours are convenient for maybe expanded use. Right now, the hours are pretty, and once it's 2:15, 2:30, they're done. There are no Saturday hours, by the way, at the city barn. So as opposed to we're at the waste area in Springdale, Berkshire Street. Yeah, so that's, I don't think you want to just pass this order and just say, here, everybody have a card, and great, clean up the city, and then yet not have anybody on the back end at DPW to handle this. This is a noble thing. The back part of it, punishing, a landlord. I think we have other tools to punish the landlord. I don't think I really would want to go there with that part. The ordinance we have now about not paying the sewer fee, I think that kind of trumps whatever it is you want to do there. So I wouldn't necessarily support that. So those are my comments.
Could I just offer?
Councilor Murphy.
Yeah,
Through the chair.
I appreciate the comments, Councilor Bartley. Let me just say, with regards to the landlord not paying the sewer fee, what's happening now, as I understand it, is that the tenant, even if they went and paid for a card, if the landlord has failed to pay the sewer fee, as I understand it, the tenant's right to use the card is limited. What I'm trying to do is say the tenant should not be liable for a landlord that's not paying the sewer fee. That's what I'm trying to come up. I'm not trying to create another problem with regards to the sewer fee, but I'm trying to make sure that a person who did not have any input into the sewer fee not being paid is being punished and having their card rejected. And that's, and I could be wrong, but I've been told that that's happened to several people, so that's why I brought that up. And that's, again, my goal is to try to make it so that tenants have that right and actually that we end up, and if I agree, and hopefully the department feels like they can handle the additional, and I don't know how many additional trips there'll be, but I would venture, there will be some, because I've had, the very first meeting I ever went to when I got back on was people saying to me, I'm a renter, and, I've got to go, and my landlord, tells me, we can't get it because we're renters. Now, they can get it, and they can pay a fee, but I'm just trying to make it so they don't have to pay a fee, and they would still go and get it just like we go and get it as a homeowner. So that's the goal.
Councilor Hernandez.
Well, yes, and just to piggyback on what you're saying, sometimes all of these items, because renters don't know what to do with them, they end up illegally dumped. Like in my property, sometimes I have to get disposed of it. So maybe this can prevent, and it could be like a trial or something that we can, practice, and it's going to be, looks like it could be more beneficial for the city as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that this is another order that, our superintendent of public works would be able to work with, I think, Board of Health and the mayor's office to make sure as Counselor Bartley is saying, that we have the manpower to deal with additional trips or like staffing. I do know that the DPW is, I would say, understaffed at the moment. So we do need to make sure that the resources are in place to support that sort of activity. And then also, I'd like to know from the Board of Health, like what costs does the city bear by not having that available? Because like, what are the costs of illegal dumping that we're experiencing? So I think that there's multiple departments here that need to get on the same page in the same way, that Bob's working on the Mass Works grant with the fire department and other departments. I think this is another item that's ripe for collaboration. Councilor Bartley, do you still want to make a point?
Yeah, so there's no doubt that this is burdensome to the Board of Health, probably to the building commissioner, and there are ways that we can fine people, and that does happen, certainly. There's various fees that we passed last year to try to stop this behavior, but we're not into collecting fees. We're not about collecting fees for the sake of that, but it's hopefully to change behavior. But I do want to emphasize that I think it's a valid order. I like the order. I like to have more cards out there, and especially into renters. I want to make it clear that homeowners don't really get it for free. I think that's just, I know what he said, but homeowners pay property taxes, and so it's not really a freebie. So that could be worded a little softer, but I think it would be important to know, particularly with I kind of like my idea with the waste disposal open on Saturdays, that the city barn should be open Saturdays as well, and that's going to take manpower, if you will, to staff that, and I think that would be particularly helpful for the population that rents. I mean, there's so many people that use that. I use that pretty frequently, and I mean, I just have my own little rental property and do whatever I do, but it's invaluable. It's invaluable bringing bulk waste there, and you get to use it 7 times a year with a card, and it's nice. I mean, I've never had the occasion to use it more than 3 or 4 times, but it's just a nice little benefit to have. I think it's really good, and renters maybe don't get to use it 7 times a year, but maybe they get to use it 3 times a year. And so having Saturday hours, and especially if we talk about that and dedicated for the renters or the landlords, those are special hours for that community, that might be helpful. But again, that's requires some budgetary help. And so you got to talk to the mayor about that, or the chief of staff, however, whoever's running the show over there. I mean, that's just important. And now, frankly, through the chair, Councilor Murphy, is the time. I mean, you've got Mr. Parent here, and he's taking copious notes on this, but if that's the direction of wards 1, 2, 4, 6, and 3, and I'm positive the other ward councilors will be right behind it, well, there you go. So let's see what we can do about that. I mean, we've got to get that communicated.
Councilor Anderson-Burgos?
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to table it and see what we can do, talk to the mayor and DPW and see what we can work out before we send it out to full city council.
I'd go along with that, but I would like at the next meeting, 'cause obviously the DPW is reviewing the options and the costs, that they come back and kind of give us an idea on that, and I'll try to talk to the mayor in the interim. But if we can get the DPW to come back at our next meeting with, these are the problems that we would have, these are the benefits we would have, and we can weigh them all. But again, my goal is to try to make the city cleaner and also try to give people a chance to get rid of things.
Just, I wanted to ask Mr. Parent, do you know how far along Mike would be in this process? Like if he would have within the next month something to report with some more of these concrete?
I believe so. We did discuss it a couple of days ago, and he felt
Okay.
confident that he'd be ready.
Okay,
Councilor Lisi?
yes.
You'll remember meetings we had up in the annex on the 4th floor with Caracunya and talk about the locked dumpsters so many years ago. Councilors will remember, I know Joe does because we talked about this, the massive trash that was dumped outside of Ozzy's garage on High Street for months. I mean, all the residents there, listen, what choice did they have, Bob? I mean, so Ozzy's garage, whatever it is, something or other, High Street, he had a dumpster there. Ozzy wasn't not in business anymore, so people just kept bringing their trash. Next thing you know, it just morphed into this huge island of trash. And
But also because it was being locked, and
right,
once they're at capacity.
right. But the point is, these are renters. They want to do the right thing. They're please bring it to like a common area. But I mean, so let's see if we can work on that.
So on the motion then to table,
Second?
do you still want to make a point, or?
Well, no, I was gonna make a point.
I'll take
I
my
ju-
second back since we can't
I
debate it.
recently bought some sofas, and I found myself, what am I gonna do with these older sofas? I was like, oh my God, I got somebody to help me bring the new sofas to my house. I had no idea what I was gonna do with the old sofas. I think a lot of the problems we're having is that some of these people just do not have the vehicle, the equipment to bring these to the recycling center. I think that's an issue as well. Luckily, I found someone to take the sofas, but nonetheless, some of these people do not have that option. They don't have a vehicle to remove, so whether it's a, bed or couch or whatever. They don't have any form of transportation.
Yeah, I think that would be something else to raise with the superintendent when he comes in. So on the motion then to table,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Going back to item number 16, under suspension of the rules. Order that the Ordinance Committee invite Paul Donahue, project manager for Suez, to discuss the Holyoke operations, give updates, offer planning suggestions for the CSO. Motion to take up off the table.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you. I did realize that I brought handouts with me if anybody needs copies. I can bring them to the table if you'd like one.
Thank you.
So it's Michael Burke.
So,
You have one?
Yes.
Thanks. Oh, these are copies of your notes,
that's correct.
as opposed to I thought it was going to be a,
No, not relative to the CSO.
okay.
Issues. So my understanding, based on the date of this order was filed about 2 years ago, a little bit less than 2 years ago. Couple of just matters of fact, some of the staff at Suez have changed. The current area manager, who's been there for some time, is Mike Burke, and the current project manager is Michael Williams, who came over and joined Suez from the city of Chicopee. He was the plant manager at the city of Chicopee. He's been with Suez now, probably in Holyoke, for about 6 months or so ago at this point. I did want to let this committee know and the full council know that we did submit what is known as the update to the long-term control plan, which is effectively is the 20-year plan of what the city is proposing to do for continued sewer separation and CSO reduction over the next 20-plus years. It's a fairly extensive document. The city was under consent decree to complete that document and submit it to review to EPA by the end of 2019. We did that. That went into EPA. EPA and DEP are currently reviewing it. I'd certainly be very willing to come back and get into some detail of what that plan recommends and present it either to this committee or Finance Committee or DGR or really where it fits into the committee structure, because I do think it would be important for the council to have a general sense of where the city expects it'll be going over the next 20 years.
So it is 20 years from 2019,
That's correct.
so it's the 20 years out. And would we receive the reviewed and approved plan once you get it back from DEP and?
We certainly can do that. We can, if you'd like, we can, provide you with a summary of the draft that was submitted to EPA and DEP, and sometimes these things go to them and they sit there for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and I don't think it'll be I don't think they'll be looking for any less commitments that the city is making in draft form at this point. They might be looking for something more than what the city has put forward in draft form. So I think we can at least present what we're suggesting right now. And once we have the response from EPA, we can then present that as well. So I would leave it up to this committee or the council to decide what forum, if we would like to have that presentation, what forum would be best to have it in.
Well, I would imagine that actually public safety would be an appropriate place to have that discussion.
Public safety, DGR?
Well, we had it in DGR.
You
so
had it
the-
in DGR
yes,
previously?
we did. And so we reviewed it and approved that, so I think that's probably the best place for it to go. And not this committee, and not finance, I don't think those are appropriate. I think DGR would be a good fit for it. So whenever you get it ready, just file under.
So just to be clear, Councilor Bartley, as the chair of DGR, you have already reviewed the draft that was sent out, or?
No, well, we reviewed the, I think, I assume we're talking about the same thing, Bob, am I not? The 20, is that the, maybe I'm wrong. We reviewed, through the chair to Bob, we reviewed the coalition plan. That's why I was thinking of that, between the Springfield, Chicopee, and Holyoke. Yeah, so we reviewed that.
Correct.
So that's kind of parallel to this. So I think that's why it makes sense to send it to that committee. But whatever you feel is, I'm
No, I just wanted to make sure I
okay.
understand which end, because I would imagine if we get it approved, then there's going to be a formal communication that comes in, and we can say, okay, go discuss this in this committee. But without a formal communication to review something that has already been submitted, I think we should send this item over to another committee for discussion of what you submitted. Does that make sense?
I think so, and I would agree that I'm not certain that ordinance is the best committee.
Yeah.
It does have financial implications, but it also has governmental implications as well.
So just refer it to
DGR.
DGR. That way,
Want to say anything else, or?
Yeah, just
Joe?
two questions if I can. So we got a 20-year plan, and I know we got the Jackson sewer project coming up, which is going to be completed within a year, 18 months.
Right now, in fact, we received an extension from EPA for completion of that work, so we have now a deadline of December 31st of 2021 for completion of Jackson
Okay,
Street.
so a little less than a year then.
2 years, or 2 construction season, all of this construction season
Okay.
and all of next construction
Okay.
season.
And the long term, so when do we forecast that we are going to be totally in compliance?
There are very few communities that have combined sewer systems like the city of Holyoke, similar to Chicopee, Springfield, et cetera, that ever expect to be will be in compliance, but not fully eliminated. And there's a difference between, there are standards that need to be met in terms of how many overflows you have per year, how much of an overflow you have, that type of thing. That we will come into compliance with in a much shorter time frame. If the question is, when will we get rid of all of our combined sewer overflows to the Connecticut River, that will be a long time, as it will be in Chicopee and Springfield and elsewhere.
So not by 2039.
Not by 2039.
I better hang around a lot longer, David.
Right now, we've put forward what we think is a reasonable plan, but we also are very careful about not wanting to overcommit, because there are big price tags associated with each one of these projects. And
So do you have a sense of where the 20-year plan in 2039, like what percentage compliant we are? Is that something that the plan can project?
By providing a plan and complying with that plan, we achieve compliance. That's the requirement, is you need to have a long-term control plan. The plan needs to be approved, and then you need to comply with the plan that you put forward. So we are doing what we need to do now, and we'll need to continue doing what we're committed to do into the future. But that, again, will not mean getting rid of every overflow for quite many decades, not years.
If I can make just one more comment, and I've met with Mike Williams several times, and I will say, I mean, he's very positive, very, very approachable, and he'll walk you through any of the issues that you might have with it. So I would, and I've told him already, I'm probably going to file an order to have him come and talk to us. So I haven't done it yet, but I met with him last week and told him I probably was going to do it.
So just under, consideration of what you just said, Councilor Murphy, this is filed by McGee in 2018. Clearly, the management at Suez has changed. Would you want to refile essentially, something similar to this order, and we could then give this leave to withdraw?
Yeah. I'll make a motion, we give item 16 leave to withdraw.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to give item number 16 leave to withdraw. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. So we'll file a new order under Councilor Murphy's name to discuss, any updates with the DGR committee. Thank you. Proceeding ahead in our engineer's agenda, I believe item 24 is next. So under suspension of the rules.
Motion, we take up item 24.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded to take up item number 24, that the DPW superintendent review parking options on Hamden and Beacon and offer suggestions that may alleviate delivery issues for Eddie's Furniture. Under discussion.
Thank you. If I could make just one comment back on the previous topic. If anyone is interested, any members of the public, any counselors that want to take a look at that draft long-term control plan before we have a chance to present it to the committee or committees, it's actually provided on the DPW's website under the sewer link. There's a link to the full document there, so it's available for public view. It's actually a requirement of our consent order with the consent decree with EPA that the document be out there and available to the public for review, so it's there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving on to item number 24, again, this one goes back some time, as I understand it. I believe that the majority of this has been addressed, and I went back through the ordinance table to see what had been done historically relative to no parking ordinances along Hamden Street in the vicinity of Eddie's Furniture. There, in fact, are currently 2 entries in the ordinance table for no parking from Pleasant up past Eddie's. It is posted no parking, and what DPW has now been doing, I think, for the past year plus, in addition to the posted signs at the street, at the eye level, we also have the street level signs that are placed on both sides of the street, and that seems to have been effective in terms of keeping parked vehicles out of the way of that alley where the trucks pull in for Eddie's Furniture. It's tight. Effectively, you still stop traffic in Hamden Street when there's a truck that has to back into that alley for offloading of furniture, but at least it can physically be done if the vehicles are parked far enough away from the alley.
Mm-hmm. As far as I have, since the Dunkin' Donuts has been built and that area has been developed, I have not heard of any parking issues or delivery issues that were roughly anticipated. So I think if we hear otherwise, as that lot becomes more developed potentially in the future, then we can revisit something like this. But right now, it seems that it's fine. It's not
The motion,
needed.
the order has been complied with?
Yeah, sure. Is there a second to that?
Second, sorry.
Motion made and seconded that the order is complied with. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Item number 25, that the city council look into creating a parking authority. This is filed by Councilor McGivern. Motion to take it up off the table.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Counselor, Bob, do you want to say a bit about what your notes are here?
Certainly, I obviously wasn't with the city at the time that this order was filed, so I don't completely understand the background, but we did have a discussion of parking and how to figure out parking issues and how to create some policies perhaps at the council level regarding parking. And I'd called attention to the council that the City ordinances already provide for a parking advisory board, so I just noted that in my response, that that's out there, suggested that that possibly be, reinvigorated, and that may or may not go as far as Councilor McGivern was looking to go with this order.
Councilor McGivern, do you want to comment?
No, I think it's a little bit of both. Could you read the minutes from the last meeting this was taken up?
I don't have them with me, but it was taken up last in November of 2019.
I mean, is there a note there?
Oh, I'm sorry, I see what you're saying.
Sorry, I was being a little funny, but I really just don't remember.
I'm going to have to take a minute to find it.
Bob, Councilor Luis is looking for this. Is the advisory committee filled or active?
It
I
is
don't
not
think so.
currently filled.
Okay. Although I was asking to take it a step further, I certainly would feel comfortable if we tried to get the advisory committee going again with interested parties, and I know a few who would be interested. That would be, that might might resolve some of the issues that, we seem to be reoccurring with, especially in the downtown area, but with parking around the city. And I know the downtown early, I lost it, Mass Surgical across the way here. Who's? DJ.
O'Connor?
Yeah, well, DJ O'Connor, right? Would be interested in serving. And I think I'm sure the Chamber of Commerce would like to put someone on it, and, some other people, I don't doubt, would want to help out on a, limited basis.
Does it say, or do you recall, just because we don't have the ordinance in front of us, do you recall who is the appointing authority?
I believe it's primarily the mayor's office, although there are council reps on the committee as well. So it will be up to the council to, I believe, appoint their reps, and also for the mayor to fill because I believe the Chamber of Commerce may be listed by name, businesses.
The last time it was active was, there was a parking master plan done for downtown. And I've referred to this at more times because, including from the loading zones to handicap parking to X amount of, 1 to 2 hour parking, it was thought out, to also leave a number of meter spaces for people, coming to, in transition, especially for shopping and for using the eateries downtown. So I think it would be nice to have a body other than us that would be able to review, proposals to amendments to the ordinances downtown. When I filed this order, I was thinking more along the lines of the issues we were having with the parking decks and the meters and the management company. I think that's been somewhat resolved, and I think, in the near future, with some new equipment comes in, that's going to be just about significantly resolved. Mm-hmm. But I still think there'll be issues coming up over the years.
So are you interested in filing something separately to actually appoint members to this advisory board and send a communication to the mayor that we reinvigorate this board that is, it's in our ordinances, so we should be using it. It seems that we just need to start appointing people. Or
Would the committee feel comfortable just amending this and taking out creating and just, putting in reestablishing the Parking Authority Advisory Committee?
I'm open to that. I know that Councilor Bartley does want to chime in, so before I ask the committee to consider that amendment, we'll hear from Councilor Bartley.
Thank you. I always like to chime in. So here's my chime. This order is right on point, and I think what the committee could consider doing is A, amending it, as Councilor McGivern, the finance chair, said, but also sending it back to City Council with a copy to the mayor, communication to the mayor from this committee, urging the mayor to appoint whomever he has authority, or that office has authority to appoint. I don't think that the time is now to have a broad discussion about parking, but I think that's got to be really thought about by this ordinance committee, because that's, and by the Parking Authority Board. There are more meter heads gone than I recall. I mean, I don't know what the latest is on the parking decks. I don't have firsthand intel on that anymore because I'm just not down here as much as I used to be. But nevertheless, the abundance of meter heads gone missing are enormous. Since Department of Public Works wanted to take this on, no longer wants to have a vendor, well, you can only point the finger to the guy or person you see in the mirror every morning, and that's the Department of Public Works. And right now, I'm less than impressed about what's happening on this issue with the Department of Public Works. Or maybe somebody should call in a member of the Board of the Public Works to say, gentlemen, I think it's all men, but if it's ladies on the show, ladies and gentlemen, you want to weigh in on this or not? Do you want this or not? We tried to go the route of getting direct communication from the mayor's office over the course of time. I don't think that's borne, in my opinion, much fruit. I think it's borne no fruit, frankly. I'm not going to reiterate what happened here 3 years ago now. The mayor sat in this desk, said this is going to be a economic boon for the city once you go ahead and raise all the fees. Now, so Councilor Hernandez can keep that in mind. Mayor said that right here, said that, turn it around, we're going to add to this, we're going to increase our financial capacity by doing this. You city councilors go ahead, change the fee structure. Never happened. So we did it, never happened. In fact, we went backwards. We had goof-ups at Mayor Prue, goof-ups over here at Mayor Topier deck, and now all the meter heads, are the majority of them missing? I don't want to say that, but it's pretty darn close. So I think that avenue's been tried, tested, and failed. So I hope the Board of Public Works can come to us with a communication. I would certainly like an update on what's happening with collections compared to expenses. It seems like you've nipped in the bud the shall we say unsavory conditions that were documented by a layperson who was just going out of his way to take photographs. It seems like you've nipped that in the bud. The unsavory conditions over at the Mayor Pro garage. So that we're grateful for that. So somebody's working on it. Certainly like to hear how collections are going with, because we approved 2 people. We have Dan the man still doing his thing, but Dan the man has an assistant as well doing collections. So we have fewer meter heads and we have twice as many people collecting, doing ticketing. Well, how's that coming along? We just, we pass the budget and we send them out, but we don't hear any feedback until we get these questions. I think this is a great order, and I hope the committee will consider amending it, asking the mayor or the mayor's assistant, Mr. Bloomberg, to start considering finding nominees, and that we need to educate ourselves, starting with we meaning me, educate ourselves on what capacity we have to find nominees for this. I don't think I've looked at this ordinance. If I haven't looked at it in a while. So I need to get more familiar with who this body can appoint, and if we have to advise the city council president, then we will. So thank you.
Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, I will. 2 things, and I appreciate all. Can I ask a question, Councilor Bartley? When you're saying the heads, you mean so we can't collect any money on those meters? Am I correct on that?
Through the chair.
Yeah. So just Councilor Murphy. Yeah, the meter heads are so there's a pole,
Yeah.
right? And the meter heads are where you put in the quarters or your charge card, or your. At one point, it was really nice across the street. Joel remember it just took this last year, and Councilor Lisi remember it very well. Pretty cool. We had the app, and that was
We adopted the app.
well. They're gone now, and that was
The app can be used on Suffolk Street. I think it can be used on Dwight Street too, in the parking decks.
But you should have the option for both at any parking location.
100%.
But those
yes.
temporary parking meters gave out
Yes.
tickets too. I love that.
Say that, Joe.
They gave out tickets. The experimental ones.
See, this is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty
You know,
cool.
if your
And,
time ran out, it just took your license plate and gave you a ticket.
I mean,
Oh, really?
I mean,
Scary.
Well, I won't ask why we hired another guy to help Dan, because we get
Well, we
self-automated.
never,
but
those
whatever.
meters were expensive too.
Whatever.
I do
But
want
yes.
to turn things over to
Councilor Murphy,
Councilor Murphy in the middle of his point
Yeah,
there.
the meter heads.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Those are
No, I
the,
appreciate, so,
It's
I
the
would
polls.
make a motion that we amend, that we send to this full council amendment that we make sure that the Parking Advisory Board, which is created by ordinance section 8691, is activated, and that within the first 45 days of their action, that they give us an update on any parking issues, anything that's been successful, or anything that we need to work on.
So, I just want to, so I think that there's actually two different things that we're talking about here as I listen to the conversation. One is about reestablishing the parking advisory board and making sure that they're activated and doing things. But then I'm unsure, because I don't have the ordinance language in front of me, if the scope of their work is just to designate different sorts of, parking situations based on the activities in the city, or if it's actually to create or make decisions or give recommendations on the collections and other items of that nature.
Just the wording, and I obviously wasn't here when it was done, but it's an advisory board, so my gut is that it should be advising if we need to change the ordinances, if we need to update equipment that are causing those problems, that it does not have a decision-making authority, but it has the authority to suggest corrections or amendments to the ordinance to improve the parking.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it would be there for.
Do you have any sense from your reading of the ordinance?
Certainly, a couple of things I can shed. I pulled up the ordinance, so I can shed some light on the membership of the ordinance, and then I'll make one comment. It's overall role that the advisory committee, as Councilor Murphy indicated, I believe the intent is advisory, not day-to-day management. That responsibility lies with the DPW, so I would never want a volunteer committee or board to have to think that they're running the city's parking system. That's the job of the DPW. And if we're not doing a good job, we need to, be taken to task for that. The makeup of the Parking Advisory Board shall consist of 9 members, 7 appointed by the mayor with the approval of the city council. So there's a confirmation responsibility there. And 2 council members appointed by the president of the city council annually. The makeup of the 7 members, actually of the 2 advisory members of the council, 1 is a council member at large and 1 is a ward council member. So of those 2 members, 1 ward, 1 general. And then among the 7 members, the goal is to have at least 1 member from the following retailers, especially downtown retailers, office workers, multifamily residential, the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority, and the Greater Holyoke Chamber of Commerce. So it was, I believe, the intent when it was written to have a fairly broad representation from the different groups that are impacted by parking, that need the parking and are impacted by how it is utilized in the city.
Okay, so then I think what we would like to do is, yes, give them a charge. So within 45 days, give us an update of everything or anything in particular, or?
Well, I'm going to, that they, number one, that they are reactivated, since it appears right now they're dormant, and that, they bring to us whatever concerns they have at that point, that they've reviewed, that if there are any recommendations, or that everything is looking good, you don't need to do anything, that they would just report back to the city council
Yeah,
and the mayor
An overview.
and the DPW, this is our recommendations. But obviously, the first thing we need to do is reactivate it and make sure we, I don't think any counselors are on it.
No, I don't think we have anybody appointed
And
to this
obviously,
body
we're
at all.
1 ward and 1 at large are to be appointed by the president, so.
Councilor McGivern.
I think I agree with our city engineer. It's DPW's responsibility, both, the management and the commission, as to a lot that goes on with parking and needs to be and should be with the help of the ordinances that are created by this body. But I liken what this advisory committee did, like, again, not just in the downtown area, to what the Disability Commission does. They can settle neighborhood disputes, maybe. I don't know if they can settle Ivy Street, but I'll give you a good example besides Ivy Street was years ago, Davis Street. The entire street, with one exception, signed a petition to make Davis Street one-way. This is a cut-through street that at the time was feeding Peck Junior High School. And within 3 months, the entire street signed another petition to reverse it. Because what you think is greener on the other side of the fence isn't as green when you get there. One-way streets don't always make sense. And this is something that's happening in one of our neighborhoods now in Ward 5. I think if we ever permanently close those streets that, come onto 202, we're going to find out there's a lot of people that are not in favor of it, and there is a lot of people that are in favor of it. But this type of committee, I think, can do legwork, if we get the right membership to help compromise and resolve these type of disputes and for real issues, but, where there's more than one solution to how to resolve them.
Okay, so then on the motion to amend the order to read that the city council reestablish a parking advisory board and appoint
It would be reactivate,
and
because
reactivate.
it is there, but it's not active.
Right, so then it's reactivate, sure, instead of reestablish. So that the city council look into reactivating the parking advisory board, and then within 45 days of being activated, provide us with an update that is an overview of the issues at need. On that motion then, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved, and then on referring the whole order
Sorry?
to,
Just one other thing.
Council Bartley?
Yep, first of all, thank you to Mr. Parent, and thank you to Councilor McGivern, because this order, I've now reviewed the ordinance. I mean, it is about as clear as day. It's pretty clearly written, like normal people can read this, so I really like the way this was done, so my tip of my hat to whoever wrote this, and I think it's invaluable, and frankly, I would help out on it as one of the ward councilors, and you'll notice on here, there's some ex officio ones too here, the city engineer, DPW superintendent, the police chief, and the planning board.
Oh, that's good.
So, so yeah, we've got and 2 city councilors, so you really don't have to fill too many seats,
Yeah.
frankly, so it's not like you have to have long hearings on it. You get a couple of retailers, DJ O'Connor, and
Chamber of Commerce.
well, I'm sure we can think of somebody, retailers or whatever. I think it'd be a winner.
Okay, so then on the motion to approve the amended language and send it to the full city council, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. That's 4-0. Oh, I should note, I apologize for not saying this earlier. Counselor Linda Vacan, Ward 5 City Councilor, is out because she was laid up with wrist surgery. So she apologizes for
Well,
not
soon.
being here today. Bartley.
Get well soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, get well soon. Okay, proceeding out of order, we're up to item number 26. Is there a motion to take item 26 up off the
So
table?
moved.
So move.
That's
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That the city's parking ordinances be struck from the city's parking ordinances, all-night parking, no person shall allow, permit, or suffer any vehicles registered in his name other than one acting in an emergency to be parked on any street in the downtown area between the hours of 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. of any day. Under discussion, as far as I understood, we're parking downtown between the hours of 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. There's a need for parking downtown, and so it no longer makes sense for our city. And is that your take on it as well?
And the DPW would agree. I don't know the history of when this ordinance was passed, but I suspect it was many years ago when parking needs are different than they are today.
Okay, so then let's refer to, I'll entertain a motion to adopt and refer a copy to legal so that she can have the legal form sent over to city council that this ordinance be struck.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor, so moved. Sorry. Still kind of getting into the new role again. And then finally, I think that's it for you then, Bob, right?
No, there's
there's more.
a couple of other items, and I did weigh in on handicap parking just to see if there was any conflicts or issues there. So anyway, I had a couple of more items on my,
Yes,
or
I
you
see.
can let me go if you like. That's fine.
No, I see it now. So is there a motion then to take up item number 28?
So moved.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to take up item number 28. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. So this is an item filed by Counselor Alexander. I'll give an abbreviated reading. It's an attempt to create a stormwater fee that is taking factors such as property size and amount of impervious surface into the cost that would be assessed to each property. Under discussion, Mr. Parent.
Coincidentally, this order was filed 4+ years ago, but coincidentally, the city, within the last month, just received news that we were awarded a grant through a program known as the Municipal Vulnerability Program that is focused specifically, one big piece of it is taking a look at the entire city, creating mapping and systems to be able to track impervious area across the city, and then ultimately start taking a look at, are there ways that the city might want to not only regulate impervious area, but to come up with an equitable way of assessing the impacts related to impervious area. If you have one property with, that's paved 100% and it's 10 acres, it's going to create a lot more stormwater and a lot more impact than the same size property without any impervious area. So that order was just filed with full council, I believe, at the last meeting. It will be referred to the Finance Committee shortly. As to a decision as to whether or not accept that grant. But if it is accepted, that'll put us into the first step of taking a look at impervious area citywide, figuring out what the impacts are, and then gathering some information to ultimately take to the council.
Right, and so I would say, this item is very dated. I think it's appropriate to give this item leave to withdraw, and when you have findings from this grant, perhaps we could reinitiate a discussion again.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded then to give this item leave to withdraw. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved, thank you. Okay, and then the parking handicap placards, it seems.
So
We
make a
have,
motion, we take up 29, 30, and 31.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to take up items 29, 30, and 31 as a package. They're all handicap placards. One is for Marilyn Vasquez at 24 Hamden Street. One is for Nixa Garcia at 300 Chestnut Street. And then one would be for Maria Alvarado at 533 South Summer Street. Under discussion, Mr. Parent, I'll see if I could find the recommendations from the Handicap Commission on Disabilities.
What I try to do is take a look at these orders just to see if the commission agrees. Will that create any concerns from a traffic flow standpoint? Are there conflicts that need to be resolved? Are there duplicate orders, which we find sometimes? And for item number 29 and item number 31 seem pretty straightforward. So I did provide recommendations in terms of how to write that order if the council decides to go forward.
Great.
On item number 30, and Councilor Murphy can help to clarify this, I did note that there is currently an existing handicap space in front of 302 Chestnut. If this order was adopted, it would place a second handicap spot directly past the existing handicap spot. And if that's the intent, I provided the language to do that.
And it is my understanding that this is a second person who resides in the other half of the house that has a similar, and from what I gather from the Disability Commission, it is a person that does need to have a spot, so.
So, just if I may, the feedback from the Commission on Disabilities for item number 30 is in fact that it be approved. The one thing that's coming up for item number 29 is that it was not filled out properly. It's actually incomplete. So we'll probably have to ask, we could probably table it and send it over to Counselor LeBron Martinez to help the applicant
Can I-
complete the,
Can I make a comment on that? Because I know that person did come in and filled out whatever she was asked to fill out, and she actually had, and this is the person that had a disability and originally lived on South Summer Street, and has been very good, because I filed an order to take down the original sign she had, so I don't know if we can try to work this so that we can handle and then still get this done for next Tuesday, because this is a person who already was, and then moved, and now she's having the same problem before, so, I mean, I don't think there's an issue in terms of her being unqualified to get it, so, I mean, I can contact her and try to let her know that she may have to come in and do something, but I would appreciate it, and she's not in my ward anymore, but she was at one time, and she did contact me about this, and I know she came in because I went to the city clerk's office that day, and she had just been in filling out whatever she was supposed to fill out, so she may have left something off, I don't know, but, and I spoke with Donnie Welch today, and he didn't give me any indication of a problem, so
so,
is there any way we can move it forward, and then I will contact her to have her come back to the city clerk's office and see if she has to refile something?
the only thing is we don't have an actual recommendation from the Commission on Disabilities because it was incomplete, so I was wondering in your conversation with Don Welsh,
Yeah,
He indicate whether it was-
he only told me about 31, which was originally denied, but he actually told me that they really did not want to deny it. They went and did more research, and they found out that, in fact, this person should be getting it. So I don't keep many voicemail messages, but I kept that one just in case. But as far as 29, they haven't. I can, again, call him on that as well. And well, I guess what I'm going to ask is, this is a person who's really trying to do the right thing and trying to do it the right way, and who's really having issues in terms of parking, so that if we could approve of this, I'll call Mr. Welch and verify. I'll call her and try to get her to process whatever is necessary.
Yeah, and I was thinking that maybe I could take a photo of this and send it over to Gladys, and Gladys could fill it out with her, perhaps, or get the information that's missing.
Mhm. Yeah,
You have a relationship with her, though?
yeah, I probably, because I actually told her she could use my name if she wanted to, so.
Counselor Hernandez, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, I wanted to say that in one of our previous full city council meetings, that it was mentioned by the president that with the handicap, there shouldn't be any name associated to it because it's open to everyone really that may have a placard.
Yep.
But still in this process is filed under the name of the person?
It's filed under the name to see if it's warranted, and then the Commission on Disabilities goes and assesses the situation, and so if you see the application, it asks people to explain like why they need the space, and they had to provide proof that they have some sort of handicap parking permission. So while anyone can use the space once it's created, no one's name is on the space once it's created, but you need someone to initiate the
Apply
creation
for
of the
it.
space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And it does create problems because we can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just tell you again that the item number 30 is approved by the Commission on Disabilities. 29 has not been reviewed by Commission on Disabilities, and 31 is actually not approved by the Commission on Disabilities.
However, they have reversed that verbally with me.
They did.
Yeah, they called me, that's what Donnie called me today to tell me, I know you're taking this up tonight. We had originally did not think it qualified, but then we went down and we reviewed some additional information, and in fact, this person is qualified to get it, so.
Okay.
And again, I don't want to break all the rules in the world, but I really would like to try to, so I'm asking if it's at all possible to recommend all three to be put in legal form. If in fact we don't get the paperwork done by next Tuesday,
Then we can table it
then we
then.
can table it. But I really, this is a person who's tried to do everything right, tried to get me to repeal the previous handicap spot that she took, which a lot of people have not done, and tried to file this properly. So I'll try to make sure I can get this done for her, but I would appreciate it if we try to do all three, and I will work with her and with Mr. Welch and city clerk and whoever else. But this is the person that really is trying to do everything right and is in need.
Okay. Do you want to make that motion then, that they be approved?
I'll make a motion that all
Second.
three be approved and that item 29,
You'll
be
work-
approved pending the final paperwork being done.
Great, and we have the legal,
Is that okay with you, Brett?
we have the legal language
For me.
for our legal department to use, the measurements rather, for the legal department to use, so I think that we can move forward with this. Motion has been made and seconded that it be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Okay, so I think that's all we have with you this evening. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
And I'll be in touch about when we'll have another full
Okay,
engineering DPW sort of meeting.
sure. I understand there's a lot of things you're still trying to catch up on, so, yeah.
Yeah, I would anticipate the first meeting that we have in March would be the next time that we have you in.
If we get to the point that we've got general internal agreement on the South Holyoke order, that's one that I might request. I don't mind. I'll come as many nights as you'd like me to come, so it,
I think I'm anticipating the 17th at this point,
of
March.
March, okay. Thank you.
Could I just ask a question? I know you're trying to accelerate that process in terms of the grant. So is there an actual deadline that we have to do it?
There isn't a grant deadline, but before we move forward full speed on the final design plans, it would be helpful to know that the council is in support of what those plans are going
Okay.
to show in terms of,
So the sooner we can do that,
right.
overall, the better.
We
Okay.
don't really want to go ahead and pull the trigger on the final detailed design and find out that the council doesn't agree with a direction that we're going.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, and you're hanging on to that. Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure I know where everything is. Thanks again, Mr. Parent, for coming down. Okay, so then I will proceed in order to item number 3, which is filed by Counselor McGee. Motion to take up item number 3.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ordered that the following changes be made to the classification plans of Chapter 2 of the proposed zoning ordinances. So this is the salary, I believe. So there's a number of salary items on here that relate to the salary study that was done in 2015, I believe. I don't think that this is actually the salary study itself. I think it's a select set of changes. Let's take a look at it. I haven't heard from anybody about this, about preserving it in any way. So let's see. Highlighted changes. So this looks like it was a schedule. Yep, so it actually does look like the salary study. Yep, so I think that this is another version of the salary study that was refiled by Counselor McGee. I am interested in revisiting the salary study and the compensation plan. So I would say that this could be tabled.
I'll make a motion that, two things. Number one, that everyone, at least on the committee, if not on the full council, get a copy of the full order beforehand, because obviously this is gonna be something that might take some time. And if there's only one copy, we're gonna be ineffective at that. So I'll make a motion that, our administrative assistant send copies of that order to the full Ordinance Committee and any other counselors that might be
To the
interested.
full council.
Yeah, yeah. And that we table the item until we get that.
Okay, before we actually move to take up that motion, I saw Councilor McGivern's hand up.
No, I was just going to suggest, if you look at item number 4, it also, it is a separate order filed under my name, but it also is connected to the salary study. I don't agree with everything that's proposed in this, but I agree that it should be discussed as we're looking at salaries, especially the full-time elected officials' positions. That, you know, we do preserve this, and that if we're going to have any discussions on salary structure based on the salary study, that this would be included.
Okay, so then I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules and take up item number 3 and 4 as a package.
Second.
So moved. So then on the motion that Councilor Murphy made, that the item be tabled and copies of both these orders be circulated to the full council. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, thank you. Motion to suspend the rules. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we're not there yet.
First, we take up item 5.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up item number 5. All in favor?
Aye.
So move that the PR salary schedule of Chapter 2 of the Code and Ordinances be amended to increase the salary of all PR 14 positions to PR 19. So that's a very specific text change. It would be here. There's nothing else to it. Everything got bumped down
That's what I thought.
from, so you have a new agenda now.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if the PR 14, I wonder if this was the library positions. I can't say. I think it's another one worth tabling and getting a sense of what it is altogether with the other salary study items.
Second.
So I'm just going to say table and copies
Yep.
of what that text would be to the full council. Okay, so then motion has been made and seconded to table this, but provide copies of the full text to the full council. All in favor?
Aye.
I believe we can suspend the rules and take up item number 6 and 7 as a package.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up items 6 and 7 as a package. All in favor?
Aye.
These are filed by Councilor Anderson Burgos, that a new position be established for mayoral aide, chief of staff, and that the position of mayoral aide dash chief of staff be added to the PR salary schedule as a PR 24 position.
I'd like to make a motion to leave withdrawal.
The mayor's office has requested the same, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
So I think that there's agreement there, and on the motion then to give leave to withdraw, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right. Item number 8 is filed by Councilor Jordan and Roman. Motion to take it up off the table.
Second.
Motion
So
made,
moved.
motion
Second.
made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. That a ordinance be created to create a criminal analyst position for the Holyoke Police Department. This is several years old and hasn't made much progress. I'm not sure if somebody else wants to take the reins on this. Otherwise, I think it's something that we can give leave to withdraw. Councilor McGivern.
I think the intent is good. The idea of having this position in the police department would be very fruitful. But I think the affordability questions, and I think we have to limit ourselves to creating of new positions under the financial constraints we have at this time. Leave to withdraw would be appropriate.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to have a conversation with the police department about whether someone that is already part of the force would like to like develop some training, or how specialized this position is, or if other communities have it, and we could, you know, timeshare with this sort of, you know, highly specialized criminal analyst position across municipalities. I think this order is appropriate for leave to withdraw, but I think it has some interesting, you know, seeds for further discussion in it.
Potential, yep.
Yeah. Okay, so someone want to make the motion then?
So moved.
Motion that the
Second.
order be given leave to withdraw. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay, item number 9, is there a motion to take up 9 off the table?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, this is filed by Counselor McGivern, that all retirement board positions be established as special municipal employees. Under discussion, Counselor McGivern.
Going by memory, which I will verify before next Tuesday, is that this took care of itself. I had originally filed it on a request by the retirement board by Cheryl Dugray, and I believe when I followed up on it, that they figured there was a different interpretation of the need. So if you gave it leave to withdraw, if it's anything different, I'll let you know next Tuesday.
Make a motion, we give it leave to withdraw.
Motion has been made and seconded to give the item leave to withdraw. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. This is item number 10 by Counselor Sullivan. Is there a motion to take it up for discussion?
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That Article 2, Section 42-41, organization be amended to allow for a stipend for fire commissioners. Counselor Sullivan did write to me and asked that we table this. It seems that we've had a discussion in committee and have been in favor of it, but it hasn't been realized by the mayor's office with the actual budget line items to account for the stipends. So under discussion, Council Bartley.
The aforesaid is 100% accurate, what the chair said. I just want to expand on that just a touch for, because there are 3 basically new counselors here on this committee. I don't think you were here when we had the original discussion. So, you know, and I'll direct this especially to Libby. So the fire commissioners is very unique, not unique to Holyoke, but it's fairly unique for municipalities. For example, we don't have a police commission. That's interesting, isn't it? And there's debates in many municipalities about police commissions. Boston has ones, but not too many municipalities have a police commission, so that's a broader question. But a lot of municipalities do have a fire commission. Ours has tremendous authority. Hire and fire authority. That's pretty good. And these are volunteers, appointed solely by the mayor without any input whatsoever. Solely by the mayor, mayor's total complete discretion. So take those 2 comments. One is you have a fire commissioners with hiring and firing authority of municipal employees. That's pretty interesting. At the other side of the coin, they're doing it without any. They're put on there by the mayor directly, without any input from the broader perspective of the city council. So the thinking behind this, and I work with Mike on it. And we've asked the mayor, I've not only asked the mayor multiple times, Councilor Sullivan has asked the mayor multiple times, I've asked the fire commissioners to ask the mayor, and I can't say whether they've done it, so that I'm going to leave on the table. But I had direct conversations with at least 2 of the 2 fire commissioners, 2 current fire commissioners. I had direct conversations with them both. I'll stipulate to that. That's absolutely verifiable. And here's my take, is that I believe that because of their position, where they put in hours and hours and hours of uncompensated time, again, personnel decisions. I mean, you know how serious those are. There's nothing more serious. They're making personnel decisions and grievances. So they do a lot of union stuff, all volunteer. It was my take, Councilor Sullivan filed this order, agree with me, we would support a stipend. I would support a stipend, now subject to appropriation, of course. We don't appropriate, Libby. We don't do that. We can only cut. Only the mayor can appropriate in our strong mayor system. But a reasonable stipend, I mean, I was thinking 2,500, but that's, whatever, it's subject to debate. We can all come up with a price point on this. If the mayor would relinquish total, complete autonomy in this realm. In other words, if the mayor, just like we do for the G&E commissioners, they get a stipend, just like for HHA commissioners, Libby, got to come in here and have a conversation, because we want to know who you are. I don't think we ever denied one, not in my 8+ years now. I can't remember us voting no on one. Not one. So, but we want to at least hear from you, similar to what HHA, HRA, do we approve for HRA? I don't want to say it to be true. I don't, maybe I overstate.
We have one appointment.
HRA, okay. So HRA, certainly for other committees, CPA, other things, we want to at least have the ability to hear them out. I mean, of course we're going to, unless they really do something off the hook, I mean, we're going to defer to the mayor. But we at least want to hear what their perspective is on making personnel decisions and what experience do they have. So that would be the trade-off, if you will. If the mayor would relinquish total autonomy, allow the city council to have a appointing authority, we would be amenable to passing an ordinance that would allow compensation. Thought that was reasonable? We stand in limbo. And so I think Councilor Lisi said all of that. I just wanted to just expand on, I'll just put some nuances on that, just for newer councilors. Because even Councilor Murphy, I know you've been here before, but I don't think you were I don't think you came on board during those discussions. So anyway, well, maybe you did. Okay, so there you go. That's our take. So maybe you want to talk to the mayor, or you want to talk to the mayor or Councilor Lisi or anybody. And that would require a charter change. But we can do that. We got the ability. We just have to do it.
So then on Councilor Sullivan's request that this be tabled, is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Item number 11, motion to take it up. Sorry, I'll entertain a motion to take up item number 11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. That Article 2, Section 42-41 organization be, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. That no change in pay for any elected official shall take place during the current term of office. Individuals know the pay for the position at the time that they run for office. I think this is another one that should just be tabled and bundled with those other compensation.
Make a motion we table it.
Motion's been made and seconded to table. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Item number 12, I'll entertain a motion to take it up for discussion.
Second.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is filed by myself, that the City of Holyoke consider creating an ombudsman position to help entrepreneurs navigate the various permitting and licensing requirements for opening a new business in the city. I always thought that this would be a really great position, because we do have a lot of requirements as new businesses get started to get sign-offs from various departments. Our city hall staff exists within 2 buildings, so it would be great to have somebody to help entrepreneurs navigate the permitting and licensing requirements and understand the ordinance that they have to follow in creating a new business or anything having to do with new projects in the city. However, recognizing that it really hasn't been taken up in 4 years, and I think that there are financial constraints. I'm interested in giving this leave to withdraw at the moment, but
Consider refiling.
I would consider refiling it at a more appropriate time in the future.
Make a motion we give it leave to withdraw.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Under discussion, Council Bartley.
Yeah, I've given some thought to this, and I think this has merit. I think the person who's in charge of, like a current department head, such as licensing, should maybe have his or her job description expanded.
Mm-hmm.
I know licensing does a lot of stuff. I know they have some responsibilities, but if you expand that job description, compensate appropriately for this, that because this is almost, it's not quite a full-time gig, but it could be, it could be 5 or 6, maybe 10 hours a week, who knows? But I think that's kind of appropriate for a position like that, if you would consider it, but I'm not, just for future consideration.
Right, and I think it has the potential of moving, a part-time clerk in City Hall to potentially a full-time position if we have, 10 hours or something like that. And
Well, there you go. So that would be maybe in Madam Clerk's office. That would be, but they seem to be like, the public just kind of swarms down on them, and you just never know when you're going to get bombarded. Whereas the license commissioner seems like they have a, I mean, they kind of set the agenda. I mean, they know what licenses, they know when their busy time is. I mean, they're not creating new licenses. They know when they're going to get hit for end of the year stuff. So November, December, they're going to get hammered. They know that. So maybe that's not the time to be dealing with it. Maybe they could work with the clerk on that, on some cooperation. But,
Yeah,
but generally they have some little looser.
I would probably take this back to, the mayor and perhaps the planning department to see if there's somebody who would be a good fit and, a clerk that we could move to a full-time position as opposed to part-time. So again, it's given leave to withdraw at the moment, and we'll see if there's a way to kind of work in these sorts of responsibilities elsewhere. So on the motion, go ahead, Councilor Murphy.
I agree with Councilor Bartley's suggestion there, and I think that's the kind of thinking we have to do, because we can't keep creating new positions, but we may be able to amend positions to make them more functional with what's happening. And I think that's something that we should be doing on a yearly basis. What was the strength of this organization? What do we do? Every successful organization tries to take a look at themselves and reinvent. This worked well, this didn't work so well, why? And then kind of make adjustments. So I think, I agree, give it leave to withdraw for this order, but I do think it's something that we should kind of put on the future agenda.
Thank you. So on the motion then to give leave to withdraw, all in favor?
Aye.
So
I'd
moved.
like to make a motion and take up item number 13.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to take up item number 13. All in favor?
Aye.
So move. So filed by Councilor Bartley. This is, I guess, a repeat of the order that was just filed. This is regarding, I believe, group homes and requiring a special permit prior to granting the permission for this use in residential districts. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, if I may, I want you to give this leave to withdraw for right now. I did refile an order. So what's happening here is, I know this is, your head would explode reading it, but I just wanted to write it like that, not to be sneaky, just so, sometimes I write orders just so I know where the hell to look in in either the ordinance book or the Mass General laws, just to remind myself. What's happening here is, my suggestion is that yes, though I want to give this leave to withdraw, my hope is that within a period of time, 60 days from the date of filing, we can have a public hearing on this order, and I'll just give a reader's 60 seconds or less than 60 seconds. This order pertains to, yes, having, right now, group homes can be, in the zoning table, they could come in as a matter of right in any zone. What this order is suggesting that we discuss, not saying we do it, we discuss the possibility of having a public hearing about group homes coming into a neighborhood. So in other words, instead of having somebody come right on at 42 Royal Street, because they can, that we allow neighbors to 42 Royal Street or whatever to at least know what's coming in next to them, and so they can have some input, and we can have a hearing here in ordinance. That's all this does, is to broaden the scope of knowledge to abutters as to what's happening, as opposed to doing it just by operational law, which is the current status. But right now, good to go.
So I'll entertain a motion to give leave to withdraw.
Second.
Seconded. So is there, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
I'd like to make a motion and take up item number 14.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up item number 14, to review and consider an amendment to the zoning ordinances related to corner lots, including sections 2.0 definitions, 4.4 accessory uses and structures, and 5.0 dimensional controls. I did not hear from Counselor Sullivan on this item, and the reason why I put it on here was because I thought in some instances that we dealt with this, but then in conversation with Counselor Murphy, it seems that I was confusing this item with something that we passed related to fencing on corner lots. So I think it's appropriate to just leave this tabled for now.
Yeah. Second. Is
Motion
that
is,
a motion?
yep,
Okay,
motion
second.
has been made and seconded to table item number 14. All in favor?
Aye.
So
I'd like to make a motion and take up item number 15.
Second?
motion has been made and seconded to take up item number 15. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved, filed by Counselor LeBron Martinez, that in order to allow for development and redevelopment of properties in the area in alignment with existing city plans, provide cohesiveness to the area, and bring those parcels further into conformity, the following parcels be zone changed as follows. So there's a list of properties here from various uses. Actually, they're all from RO, and then they're being proposed to either a BC or DR, downtown residential or business, commercial business.
Business commercial.
BC is Business Center.
Business center, that's right, business center. I know that the planning board reached out about this and said this is in line with some other orders that Councilor Murphy has filed, just trying to clean up some of the zoning in the downtown area. So I think that this is also appropriate to table.
Second it.
Under discussion.
Oh, under discussion.
Yeah, I defy any of you to know where these are. I defy any of you. There's no way. And so this is stuff I hate. But when it comes in like this and there's no address, really hate this nonsense. So this is filed under, Councilor LeBron Martinez got a call from Planning Department, I assume. File it. Okay. Well, for uniformity, let's just think about this. So this is privately held property. I don't know what New England Telephone or Foley Property Management or anybody else on here is saying about this. And I don't know where these are. At a minimum, you need to get a better description on this. I think you need to get some direct feedback from the private property owners before you take any. Now, tabling is all good, but this
Well, it would
this has got
require
to
a public hearing for sure.
Roger that, but it should require a heck of a lot more detail in an order than just this little cute deal here with basically those are for Libby and Juan. Those are assessor map coordinates.
Right.
Okay, I can punch it into the property view and figure it out, but that's nonsense.
And that's
I
not how
mean,
we operate, or the
Right.
public.
That's not, normal people don't operate like that, no. But this isn't sufficient. So, I mean, really, you can't, I'm a short timer here, we're all short timers here, maybe you're not, but you can't stand for this. This is unfair, unreasonable, and that's what the department has pulled this stuff, and I'm not being mean, right? We're not being mean, we're just saying, if you want to do this, Mrs. Planning Department, give us the detail and let us know exactly what's going on with the private property owners. Requesting a zone change, for real? Well, what if they did it to your address, or your address? Well, they just filed it under the property track. Well, nobody wants that. I don't know. My take, Joe.
I'd like to make a motion to table this until we get clarification to the addresses and locations of because all it says, like you said, parking lot, telephone exchange, this, we need more information.
And we'll feedback
Second.
from the owners,
Yeah.
if you would,
Yeah,
consider that.
feedback as well.
So the motion has been made and seconded to table the item. I will send a note
Nope.
to planning department.
Just
Oh, I'm
real
sorry,
quick.
I didn't see you.
What's the date on the order?
I don't know, and that's why
Isn't there a time frame on this is a zone change petition?
I think with the prior order too, Joe.
Yeah.
well, it's not a petition, it's just an order from from a city councilor, so it's
Well,
not,
it becomes a
It must-
petition if you want to change it, because you have to go through the same
Yeah.
process. I mean, the first four, I think we all know who they are, but I agree with Councilor Bartley, is anytime we change the zone, property owners should be made aware of it, you know, even if it's
They should be given
well-intended.
like the
This,
blessing.
you know, this is Maple Street, New England Telephone Company and the Second Congo Church, which why they're RO is beyond me, but there may be a reason.
Baby.
you know, I'm also happy to give this leave to withdraw and ask the planning department to refile it with more details.
Like it.
Better. Second.
So,
Because that makes sense. I mean, frankly, it's just, they need to get back to us with stuff like this. Otherwise, it'll just sit, and maybe it's relevant, who knows?
Councilor Murphy, do you mind, for the orders that you filed all around the Carlos Vega Park area,
Yeah. let me-
zone changes,
So there were,
did they have the addresses on them when you filed them as well, or did it look like this format?
no, so I basically gave, after I filed it, I kind of gave it leave to withdraw. But that was like about, I don't know, 50 or 60 different parcels, and they wanted me to do more. So the one I recently filed now deals with one city block, and every occupant of that block will end up with, at worst, an opportunity to do more rather than less. And there will be nobody that'll be, with the one I'm doing from Main, one side of Main, so the west side of Main Street from Sargent to Hamilton Street, where we got vacant lots, which we can't build on without a zone change. And so that's what I'm looking to do there, and I've talked to most of the people there. But I know the other one I've done, I've just basically said, forget it, because I'm not gonna do it, because there would be people that would end up having their zone changed, and they would become non-conforming, and I don't wanna do that. So I'm only trying to do mine. Anyone I do, it's where I'm going to try to make sure that, if anything, they get more rights rather than less rights. But in this case, I was asked to be involved in this, and I didn't become.
Councilor Hernandez?
Yes, so when this is filed, does the, and it affects other people, as we're discussing, do they have the ability to be included? Like, is there awareness that's created for them to,
They have to be notified.
right?
Once we create the public hearing is when they would
Oh,
be
okay.
noticed. So all the abutters within 300 feet of any of these properties would be noticed
Okay,
2 weeks in advance of any public hearing we had to discuss this. So we're not actually having a public hearing on this now. We're just trying to figure out procedurally, like where should this go?
What, Counselor? Just through the chair, to Counselor Hernandez. So those little letters right there have tremendous significance. Those little tiny ROs and BCs that
Yep.
you want to make your head explode. They basically say what you can and cannot do on a lot. So as Counselor McGivern, we've talked about this numerous times, but zoning laws are a creation of the state in the 70s, I guess, Joe, 60s, whenever it was. And just to, and Libby, you know, it's fact, that is a tremendously controversial thing in greater Boston and vicinity, how those little towns, those pretty little towns, the pretty little people live in there. They have incredibly restrictive zoning. So in your Hinghams and your Dovers with all the beautiful people, and Swampscott where the governor lives, oh, we're so liberal and we love this. Baloney. They have incredibly restrictive zoning. Why? Because they don't want multi-family affordable housing. That's why. That's why they don't have it. And by that, they're in violation of state law as it is, because it's supposed to be 10%, where this city is per capita number 2 in the Commonwealth for affordable housing. Number 2 behind Aquina, formerly known as Gay Head, which is where? Martha's Vineyard, okay, the Holy Land, okay, Mr. Multi-million dollar, everybody's got a property. But the only reason that has higher per capita is because they have federally designated Native American homes. That's the only reason why they're per capita more than Holyoke. So forget them. So Holyoke is basically number 1 in the Commonwealth per capita for, oh, good. Listen, we're good with it. Everybody here is good with it. But doesn't Swampscott, doesn't Beverly, doesn't Dover? I mean, look those up. Those are money towns Long Meadow, at least they have a public housing authority. I give them credit. South Hadley is a public housing authority. I give them credit for at least trying. But a lot of these little towns, these pretty little towns,
They don't want their property value to go down.
yeah, well, because they don't want those people,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And
They don't want those people.
I know.
Whatever that means. But they won't say that.
No.
But they're super liberal, right? Super liberal. Bump you. That's what I say to them.
The one last thing that I'll add is that, it's probably worth bringing somebody in from like the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to talk about zoning with us and the planning board and the full council. And I think that when we rezone these properties, not these in particular, but any properties, the idea is that we want to direct the development that will come in there, and it doesn't ever preclude an existing use. So like if, these folks are doing something under the present zoning that's on their property, they can continue doing that until they're no longer doing the same thing. They're grandfathered into the zoning that is already in existence. So they can continue doing what they're doing, even though the zone has changed. But anyone new that's coming along, or if they want to do something new on that property, they would have to be in conformity to the new
Zoning.
zone.
Okay.
And that's actually, I think, something that's rather beneficial for a community, especially a community like Holyoke that has this patchwork, parcels of random zoning all over the place, because we have a lot of spot zones. We have a lot of non-conforming uses and structures, and so if we can start to direct development for the future using the zoning, then there's a benefit there. No, absolutely, the property owners have to be noticed. We have to have a public hearing, a full public hearing, where it's put in the papers, and anyone from the public could come in and say, this would be beneficial, this would not be beneficial.
In my backyard.
Right, so, yeah, in terms of this order, however, I think that we can send a note to the planning department that we'd like this to be refiled with some additional language, additional details.
An
Second.
address.
Yeah,
I know
I think that's the additional information that we're looking for. The motion has been made to give leave to withdraw. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. So I'd like to have us reconsider our actions on item number 14, because Counselor Sullivan has written to me saying that we actually did take care of this. I was mistaken. So on the motion to reconsider.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to reconsider. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I think then if it's been dealt with.
Motion's been complied with.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded that this item has been complied with. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for that correction. Item number 16 and 17 have been taken care of. We're up to number 18 in regular order. I'll entertain a motion to take up item number 18.
So moved.
Motion has been made and
Second.
seconded to take up item number 18. All in favor? This has been filed by Counselor McGee from 2018, that the Water Department Commissioners and representatives come before the Ordinance Committee to discuss payment in lieu of tax programs. I would say that we've had them in recently for Public Safety Committee, talking about the hydrants and some of their plans to do upgrades. Additionally, I know that Counselor Sullivan has a second order filed to discuss payment in lieu of taxes throughout the city. So I think it would be appropriate to give this leave to withdraw unless someone else has other notions about it.
If I can, my only question, is that an ordinance when we do in lieu of tax, or is that just a negotiation that takes place between the executive and the nonprofit or governmental organization, and then we establish? I don't think we do it by ordinance, or I could be wrong.
We don't do it by ordinance. It's an executive negotiation, as you stated. But I think that what he's trying to do here is apply some pressure, saying that the water department should offer a pilot to the city that then the mayor would be able to negotiate. Council Bartley.
So Counselor Lisi, again, is spot on. And again, I'm not being a pedantic little, I'm not that way. I'm just saying it because counselors here are a little bit newer. So again, we don't get to appropriate. City council, and that's a good system. Well, what do we get to do? We got to vote on the budget. So come June, and that's what Counselor Sullivan, and my understanding is we did with gas and electric as well. And now you saw what happened last June, and you saw what happened December 17th, so with the supplementals. So that's all pending. And I know from Counselor Sullivan, to frank discussions with him, he is still pressing the point with the manager of the G&E, and I understand to the chair that some forward progress is being made. But the final call, as the chair rightly pointed out, and ain't us, we've got to get some cooperation from room one. Have to do it. And ultimately, it's going to be a pro Holyoke type thing to do what? To, a little more operating capital for the city government that's frankly pretty desperately needed.
Yeah, and I would say I would even be happy to connect with Councilor McGee and Councilor Sullivan, because I know that Councilor Sullivan has been really paying attention to the pilot programs.
Well, didn't you file the order?
Let me just finish what I want to say.
Well, about pilots, didn't you file the order about pilots last year, that we got all those pilots from the city auditor? Well, one of you did. We got, and so that's a list that should be given to all the counselors. Who's paying the pilots?
Yeah, and it's a very short list, and so that was the order that came up at the last meeting that Councilor Sullivan and many of us signed on to, saying we need better accounting procedures for when a pilot's created. We need to know who's managing the receipts, the establishment, the receipts, and the maintenance of that pilot once it's created. So that was the order that was just filed at the last meeting. But what I'm interested in doing is reaching out to Councilor McGee, Councilor Sullivan, and saying that we direct the mayor, or we advise the mayor to create pilot programs for the water department, the housing authority, and the G&E. I think all three of those pilots need to be revisited very specifically.
Okay, well, there is a pilot program for the housing authority.
But it hasn't been updated in over a decade.
Right, so the public should be aware, and you might as well I'll just say it out loud. I mean, I'm sure you read the meeting minutes from the Holyoke Housing Authority's last full agenda. In reserves, they have $5.8 million in reserves at Holyoke Housing Authority. $5.8 million documented in its minutes. Now, I don't have their balance sheet, but the CPA was right there, and she confirmed it in the meeting minutes. They pay a pilot. Oh, and by the way, there's about 900 or so units and about 1,400 or so vouchers. And you're an employee of the Housing Authority, Councilor Hernandez? Are you not? I believe you are. You
No,
were.
not anymore.
Okay.
I was.
You moved on. You've
I
flown.
moved on.
Okay, cool. Good
Yes.
for you. So their pilot is south of $3,300. I mean, do they not use the city streets, the public works, the fire department? Maybe there's some police calls once in a while. I'm just saying, up to Bowdoin. I have no idea. I'm not up there. But Councilor Hernandez may or may not be familiar with that, having to call HPD once in a while in her time up there. Maybe once or twice. Mm-hmm. So 33, south of 33. And meanwhile, they're 5.8 million. And so somebody might say to me, well, it just shows you they're doing a great job. You know what? It shows you they're doing their job because they collect, I audited them. I audited housing authorities for 14 years professionally. I know how so we're not going to go into it, but they're doing their job. It should be it's commendable. Okay, get it. Cool. But keep those numbers in mind. Could they be doing a little bit better? I don't know.
Well, and also I think, the fact that they're going to be creating new housing units means that they do need to have some of that money in the bank in order to qualify for loans and grants and other projects. But still, we are providing city services and we should be compensated for the services that we're providing.
If I may. So you had an order on the top of this agenda. Councilor McGivern in Finance, we just approved it last night. So, yes, $6.5 million in infrastructure improvements in South Holyoke. Okay, cool. But who's going to be managing the units that are there? Holyoke Housing Authority. We're doing it for them. So we are.
Right.
So the
It just proves the
Commonwealth, the city government, we are supplementing them. They got the 5.8 in the bank, or banks. Whatever.
So, like I said, I think it's appropriate that we give this leave to withdraw, and I'll reach out to Councilors McGee and Sullivan about filing an order to persuade the mayor to enter into pilots with these at least 3 large quasi-municipal agencies.
Second.
On the motion, then, to give leave to withdraw, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to take up item number 19.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up item number 19. The City of Holyoke amend section 14-12 of the code ordinances to allow for the keeping of live poultry for the purposes of nutrition, fresh eggs, by permit of the Board of Health. It's a couple years old. I did get emails from people in the community that said that they were actually interested in this being kept alive and open for discussion. So we could either table it or we can give it leave to withdraw, and I would refile it so that it was a bit newer.
date.
Either way.
I'd make a motion to leave or withdraw and refile.
Okay. Is there a second then?
Is that the best? So can we talk a little bit more about it? So what does that mean when you withdraw it and refile it or table it?
So per the rules that we adopted for our city council, the rules say that any item that you file should be heard by an appropriate committee within 60 days.
Oh,
And if
okay.
it's not heard within 60 days, it's technically stale.
Okay.
We don't really enforce that rule by the, what do I want to say? By the book.
Yeah.
We don't enforce it
By your actions.
by our actions. But I mean, it's Councilor Roman's order. He's not around anymore. It seems like it seems a bit more appropriate to have somebody or some set of councilors refile it. Because I'm the chair and the ordinance agenda was under my name. I did hear from several people in the community, so I'm happy to.
That they're interested,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm happy to refile it. I'm happy to accept co-sponsors if anybody
Okay.
wants to do that.
Yeah, I'm interested
Yep, me too.
as well.
So we'll give it
let's
leave to
table.
withdraw for now.
You leave it to withdraw? Okay.
Councilor McGivern?
I'm sorry, what's the definition of stale?
60 days.
60 days is supposed to,
No, I understand 60 days, but nothing, government is ongoing, and nothing goes away without the full city council vote. So is stale just a term being used? It's not in the rule.
well, I think what we understand is that if something isn't taken up within 60 days, that there's less, and it's less and less likely that I'll be taken up at all. That's how I think people have been interpreting it, and this is why we have folks refiling orders. Even Council Bartley just refiled an order that wasn't.
Well, that was by law. Didn't really have it. That was by general law. Under 40A, I didn't have a choice. That wasn't because it was a city council rule. So I just clarifying.
But didn't you make the statement that you had filed it in August and we haven't taken it up at all?
That
And
was
so
my
it
fault, yeah. Completely my fault. Nobody's but mine. 100% on me.
Okay.
But under general law, if there's a change like that to zoning regulations, by law, you have to have a public hearing within 60 days of filing it, and that stops the clock. If you don't, then it becomes, whatever word you
Oh, I
want,
see,
dormant,
because
dead.
it's a zoning ordinance item that needs to
Bingo.
have the public discussion within 60 days of the
I mean,
filing.
do what the committee has to do. Either way, you're good, but I think there's nothing wrong with this. I think if I was gonna make a suggestion, do what you gotta do, but you could probably send a communication from this committee to the Board of Health, get some feedback, and then have a hearing under this order. Or you can just do what you're gonna do now and file a new one, but you gotta get some feedback from Sean and the Board of Health on this. You gotta get him in here to discuss it before I think you start having the public come in with, bales of hay and eggs and all
Right,
that. I
and-
just think, I think we need to know a little bit more of what his
Yeah, and
take
I think
is.
we should have some sort of like, outline or model ordinance from another community to actually look at. So it's not just a whole bunch of hypotheticals being, thrown around at that point.
Great.
Councilor Hernandez?
No, I just wanted to just make sure that, was there another way to maybe fast track it, or if the best way is to refile it so it doesn't stay stale or never seen? Because this is something that the community as a whole is interested in for some time now.
My take is that refiling it is a way of reinvigorating the topic. I think tabling it works the same way, essentially, because there's no action in committee that's going to be taken. But we don't have, an active sponsor. Council Roman is no longer here. So I think the item, if we're going to keep it in play, deserves, an active sponsor. Was there somebody else who wanted to make a comment? Nope. Okay.
I was going to comment on roosters, but as long as we don't have roosters, I don't care.
We're getting tons.
Well, I have to tell you, without an ordinance, I think that we have a hard time enforcing no roosters because we don't have, our ordinances.
I'm being facetious about roosters because I actually live next door to a rooster and it never bothered me, except for when one of them got loose. I found out it was being trained to be a fighting rooster, and it jumped the fence. And this is a true story.
This is on Beach
My
Street,
neighbor,
or-
yeah, my neighbor came home and we looked at it and we cornered it, and then it jumped a 6-foot fence. So I called up a friend who actually had actually a teacher that worked with Jenny, who her and her husband owned farmland out in Rock Valley, and he came in. And he looked at it, he said, "Did you guys go near this?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Watch out." And the Italians were as sharp as razor blades. He said, "This thing could do some damage." He caught it by the neck, and I said, "Thank you." And he goes, "Well, Joe, what do you want me to do with it?" I said, "It's yours." And this is what I said to him. I said, agricultural zoning determines agricultural animals. And if it's not RA, you cannot have any agricultural animals in any other zone currently. And so this is really a zoning issue more than it is an ordinance. And I said to him, "It's yours." And he says, "You're kidding." I said, "No, there's no agricultural zone within 10 miles of my property. Take it out to Rock Valley." And I said, "What are you going to do with it?" He goes, "Easter dinner."
They are good.
Well, we've had no cat issues, thank God. I hope we don't have any rooster issues or whatever other issues. I mean, if it's a reasonable deal, but, I mean, we got to hear from Sean and the health commissioners on this, one way or the other.
Okay, thanks. So then on the motion to give item 19 leave to withdraw, all in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
So moved. Item number 20, filed by Councilor Lopez, entertain a motion to take up for discussion.
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That the Ordinance Committee create an ordinance requiring the mayor to provide any financial burden to the city when entering or allowing a private company contract to use any city buildings or facilities. Also, that the city council has final approval of such contracts using any buildings. And he gives the example of the recent ambulance contract that moves part of the services for the fire department headquarters and others. Under discussion, I don't really, go ahead, Council Bartley.
I think you can say this is complied with, frankly, because the second half of this, we did approve this, especially in particular in regard to licenses. You remember that argument we had from Attorney Cunha 5 years ago? Right out of the movies. It's not a rental, we're not leasing it, it's a license, and you have no authority, City Council. Well, we took care of that, and now they have to come for a license, and in fact, we just approved the license. We're reasonable people, we just approved it in DGR, so we're good, but just give us a chance to hear it out. So what Attorney Cunha was, no, you have no say whatsoever, because it's not a lease, it's a license. Well, we took care of that, and now we have, you have to have a license over 30 days. In fact, you saw that the last DGR. And we approved it.
So then it's been complied with?
This is lock and load, we're good. Now, the financial part, it's mainly to comply, it's complied with.
So then on the motion that it be complied with? I'll entertain a motion that it be complied with.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
I'd like to make a motion, take up item number 21.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to take up item number 21, filed by Counselor McGee in 2019, that the Chapter 2, Section 2-336C be amended to include the words, with the exception of food vendors with the appropriate permits from the State Board of Health and Department of Public Works. So I honestly don't know what this is in referring to exactly, but the Board of Health said that they are interested in pursuing it through a communication from the Board of Health Director, so I would say that this is appropriate to be tabled.
Second.
Motion made and seconded then to table item number 21. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
I'd like to make a motion, take up item number 22.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up item number 22, filed by Counselor McGee, that the city charge a sales tax or license fee similar to a taxi cab on all Uber, Lyft, rideshare companies. All in favor?
Aye.
So under discussion, I had a communication from the planning department that says that the state already levies a tax on these sorts of companies and that a portion of that tax comes back to all municipalities. So we could say that this is complied with as far as I'm concerned. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then that this be complied with.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion and take up item number 23.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. So this is filed by McGee, Tallman, Lacey, and Valentin in 2017. It's related to eliminating the position requirement of a city council member to the Community Preservation Committee. So I did hear from numerous members of the public about this one. They would like to keep it in play. I'll say just, briefly, because we're not really going to discuss this much tonight, but briefly, I'm interested in what the CPC has to say about this. I also remember, and I don't know if it actually was achieved, so this is going to need to be part of the discussion moving forward. We wanted to create as part of the ordinance that governs the Community Preservation Committee that they are required to come in before a city council committee or to create some sort of presentation of their findings. I think if we can codify that aspect of the relationship between the CPC and the city council, then perhaps we don't need the city council member on board. But Councilor Sullivan, I think, was actually invaluable in moving things and explaining things to the council. But if the CPC is going to have a formalized process where they have to come in and do a presentation, I think that we can consider whether or not that city council member is necessary on the makeup.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a city councilor on there. I agree, Councilor Sullivan was invaluable last year, but I also agree. I think someone, either the chairperson of the CPC or the whole committee should be, or give us an entire summary of all the proposals that they've had, the amount of money that is available, why they're choosing this versus that, like we do with community development. I mean, I think they're similar ideas. I mean, obviously they're going through a vetting process, but I think we should be aware of, why this one rather than that one, as opposed to, we think this is good. And, I don't think we saw anything that got turned down last year, but we only saw the ones that were recommended. And I do think we should be involved in saying, well, this got rejected because this had a higher priority and this is why it had a higher priority. Or, could we have given 50,000 to this one and 50,000 to that one and had both of them moving in the right direction rather than giving 90,000 to this one and really getting this one going and this one just hoping it comes back or something. I mean, I just think the information, and I know they work hard, because I've tuned in a few times, and I know, and you've been on it.
Yes,
So,
I was part of it.
so I know they work hard, and I'm certainly not questioning what they do, but I do think we should be more aware of the entire scope of their choices and why. But I do think having a counselor on it provides that opportunity here, although I still agree we should get a formal report.
Yeah, I'd like to, revisit the ordinance and see what it says regarding that formal report, because I know that there was a lot of talk that we should do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it actually was put into a legal form and created as part of the
I don't
ordinance.
recall.
Yeah, and I don't think that it was ever requested from the city council to the community preservation to do a presentation. No. And while I was on it,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was either.
no.
But I think it would be a good thing to do.
Okay, so then we should table this for another more robust discussion with the details and the language in front of us. Motion has been made and seconded to table item number 23. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 24, 25, and 26 have all been taken care of. Item number 27, I'll entertain a motion to take it up for discussion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. So filed by Counselor McGee in 2016, that the city travel policy be amended to adopt the federal per diem rate for the destination city as the maximum allowable reimbursement for all daily meal expenses. I mean, it seems reasonable enough. I don't know what we're doing other than that. I'm not sure if somebody else here knows what we're doing. Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, I think that, I think this should be given leave to withdraw myself, because I think that, that's all, kind of hopeful stuff, subject to appropriation, but I think when you, I think if you set reasonable policies for meal reimbursement and for mileage reimbursement, I think that the federal rates are really, really out there, frankly. And by the way, I'm not going to go into it, because I'm not going to betray something that was said in executive session yesterday in finance. But I will say on the microphone just how proud I am of Attorney Barnes standing up to a former department head who's the said department head wanted to have some outrageous reimbursement rate to participate in a matter. Off the wall.
To participate in what?
I'm not going to betray it, but it just what I'm saying to you. So Attorney Barnes said, this is what you get to be, and this is state law, this is what you get to be a witness in a case. $6 a day. That's the law. Sorry, dude. Well, the former department head wanted some 100 times that for reimbursement. What? So at least Attorney Barnes, I think, you can put whatever you want on here, but I'd want to see it, you want to have this go to legal form so we can understand exactly what it is, but we need to know what the, and by the way, we had negative $464,000 in free cash. You might want to keep that in mind. I'm hopeful that employees know what the rates are, and then when, I think when we start turning some corners, municipally speaking, budget-wise, maybe we can have some more flexibility with that. But I think this being the way it is right now, I think it's. I don't think we're ready for this, but that's me.
I'm completely, ambivalent about, where to go with this. So I would take recommendations from other committee members.
Well, I assume, if I can, that we, as a city, have a standard rate of reimbursement. My question with this, and maybe I'm reading the words in a misinterpretation, but federal per diem rate for the destination city? So the
If you
rate that
travel
we
to-
would provide to someone going to Boston versus someone going to Washington DC would be different. The rate going to San Francisco would be different. And so every time we're sending somebody, rather than saying you're getting $40 or $35 a day on meals, whatever the case might be, that they would, you're going to San Francisco, you're getting $100. You're going to Boston, you're getting $60. You're going to Springfield, you're getting 60 cents. I mean,
I think that's,
You know,
that's how the chart is set up. I
Yeah.
think that's how the chart is
Yeah.
set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, again, I would think that, I'm assuming that we just have a standard rate in the city. I don't know that, but I would
We
assume.
do have a standard rate, and this, all respect to the maker of the order, but this is employee of a blue chip corporation where reimbursement isn't exactly a financial burden. I mean, I don't think the time is right for this, but, if you're gonna write something like this, you better be prepared to, back it up in person and back it up with numbers. And I don't see either one happening here.
I'll make a motion by giving leave to withdraw.
Motion has been made and seconded then to give the item leave to withdraw. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Bob took care of 28, 29, 30, and 31. So we have reached the end of the agenda. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.